Well, speaking of the Senate and an investigation, let's bring on from Capitol Hill for his first interview of the morning, Republican Senator Lindsey Graham of South Carolina. Lindsey, another boring day in Washington, D.C.
Yeah. I'm going to Disney World.
Yeah,
I think you're already there,
why don't you go golf for 36? Yeah,
a lot of people in strange costumes.
I don't know what the ride you're on is there, but it's a weird ride. Hey, so Chairman Burr, our good friend Richard Burr, Ben Sasse, Jeff Flake, Bob Corker, all expressing concerns about the timing of this firing. Do you share their concerns, along with, of course, Senator John McCain? Do you share their concerns?
About the timing, the question is, was it justified? You could make a pretty good case that Comey's been compromised in terms of being able to lead in the future. I like the guy. I think he's very sincere. But you got to remember, this is not Watergate. I don't remember the Democratic leader calling for Archibald Cox to be fired, and you got the Democratic leader calling for this guy to be fired. So I think we need a new face and a new guy or new gal and move on.
Senator Graham, it's Nicole. You and our friend, my old boss, John McCain, have been the tip of the spear in terms of profiles and courage and trying to get to the bottom of exactly what Russia was doing vis-a-vis the 2016 election. And yesterday, I think you walked back a little bit, but you said you were interested in understanding Donald Trump's business connections, if there are any, with Russia. I wonder if you have any concern about the optics of firing an FBI director while the Bureau is investigating those two things, Donald Trump's ties to Russia.
Well, the FBI is not Mr. Comey. The FBI is an organization that will live long after he's gone. If you think this is going to result in the Senate stop looking at Trump, it won't. If you think the FBI will stop their investigation, it won't. But you got to understand that Democrats have called for this guy to be dismissed for months. Now all of a sudden he's been dismissed.
But the Democrats.
This gives hypocrisy a bad name.
Senator, but the Democrats think he made President Trump president, and they're defending Comey, and Republicans aren't. You don't think that's bad for the party?
I think the American people made Trump president. I don't buy into this idea that, you know, the only way you're going to have a fair hearing in some people's eyes is to convict Trump. The only way you're going to have a fair hearing is to stop the investigation. So on Fox, everybody's okay with this, by the way.
No.
You know,
what a surprise.
So, well, but it's no surprise.
It's a great network.
Yeah, right. But here's the deal. I don't care what Fox thinks. I don't really care what y'all think about the timing. I've got a job to do, and I'm going to do it. This guy, Mr. Comey, is a fine man who has compromised himself multiple ways. I spent yesterday morning trying to explain what he meant about Huma Abedin and Weiner. I had the distinct impression that Huma Abedin sent Weiner thousands of classified emails to find out that's not true. So let's start over and get somebody in the FBI that we all can agree is capable of doing the job.
So, Senator, the president called you yesterday to give you a heads up as to what he was...
About 5 minutes.
About 5... he called about 5 minutes before it was announced, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so during the course of that call, did you get the opportunity to ask him why now?
No, he just told me that, you know, he got a letter from the Deputy Attorney General, and he said he thought the guy couldn't lead the agency, and I said, well, that's your call, but you need to pick somebody that we all have confidence in.
So curious, and I know you don't care what we think, but I'm curious what you think of our questions. Do you think it's
good ones?
Yeah. Do you thank you.
That is the correct answer. You also
good ones, great, and happy. I hope you have many happy years to ask them too. But
so,
in all seriousness, I understand what you're saying, but I'm not really overly worried about this. I'm worried about where we're going as a country.
I agree with you, but I think this actually impacts where we're going as a country. Because I feel this president is not able to be truthful, and he puts people out there to be stooges for his interests that are not in the interest of the country. Putting that aside, though, my question to you is, don't you think it's curious that Flynn stayed in place for 18 days while the questions were erupting around him? He was warned by Flynn. Quite frankly, Joe warned him about Flynn. Sure. We complained on the air, right and left, just as much as we complained about the potential of Rudy Giuliani being Secretary of State.
Right.
Everybody was concerned about Flynn. And yet it took weeks and weeks and weeks for him to pull that Band-Aid off. And yet all of a sudden Comey just goes like this? Yes.
Right.
And Sessions has recused himself from the Russia stuff. All of a sudden, jumps back in.
You're clear. Hey, no, we'll do Chris Matthews now.
Lindsay,
so what do you think of my question?
We're friends.
Okay. Here's what I think.
What's your question, Mika?
Okay. Can I take the 18-day thing on?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
okay,
that's
so
a good
here's
one.
what I think. Sally Yates did her job. I am a big Sally Yates fan. I thought she did it right by going to McCann and saying, you got a problem with Flynn. I've got zero problem with what she did. I don't think she leaked this to the Washington Post. McCann talked to her, then the next day he apparently looked at the evidence that gave her concern. 18 days the guy was fired. The Washington Post article came out in the middle. The main thing that he was, you can criticize the president. He should have sidelined Flynn. He should have done it earlier. That's all fair game.
Yeah, but
That's a good answer, Mika.
He always does that.
No, but again, compare that though, 18 days to like he gets something from an assistant attorney general, and suddenly all the alarms go off.
What about Obama?
It's a 5-alarm fire, and suddenly, oh, he has to be fired at once.
Well, he probably should have fired him when Schumer called for it, and we wouldn't be having this conversation.
So, Senator Graham.
Well, what would we be saying if we'd fired him a month ago when Schumer said, fire the guy?
I think we'd be saying something different.
No, we didn't. I mean, isn't that the point?
Well, that actually is the point, that as the Russian investigation picks up, as subpoenas start to go out, as a plea deal possibly is being offered to Michael Flynn, suddenly, as all of these things start to heat up, suddenly, oh my God, we got to get rid of him. That is the exact question. Why didn't you fire him a month ago? And Lindsay, more importantly, why didn't he fire him right after he got elected, if this was such a great concern? Because he's firing Comey for the very reasons that he praised him during the campaign.
Yeah, all I can say is that I like Comey. I think he's tried to be as fair as he knows how to be. I think he's made some missteps. It's not a specific intent crime to mishandle classified information. He took on the role of being the Attorney General. The letter about the Clinton investigation being reopened, I can understand why Democrats are concerned about that. What he said about Huma Abedin and Weiner a few days ago turned out not to be true. The bottom line, he has the right as president to dismiss this guy. I think there's a case to be made that he should be replaced. Now the question is, who's he going to replace him with? The Russian investigation will go forward in our committee, and it will go forward in the FBI. It's a counterintelligence investigation, not a criminal investigation. And Joe, the day it becomes a criminal investigation, we'll talk about a special prosecutor, but that's not what they're investigating.
So Senator, I understand you believe that the FBI may be better off under new leadership, given all that Comey has said over the last almost a year now, since July. But do you really believe, as you said this morning, you have no concerns about the timing of it, which is to say that a president whose campaign is under investigation by the FBI has fired the man leading that investigation? That doesn't concern you at all?
You know why I'm not concerned? Because I know the FBI is made up of people who will do their job. I know the Senate is going to move forward. I know our system is bigger than Mr. Comey. So no, I don't believe firing James Comey is a get-out-of-jail-free card for the Trump campaign. I don't believe that.
The FBI may be solid. I think a lot of us agree with you on that. But what about the other side of that equation? You're not upset by a president firing the man who's leading the investigation into him and his campaign?
Well, all I would say is that my Democratic colleagues called for his firing.
I understand that.
At the same time that Donald Trump was praising him for his courage.
Well, so let's put it this way. Nobody's consistent when it comes to Comey.
Right. All right, Senator Lindsey Graham, we'll leave it there. I am genuinely confused. And thank you. Just as confused as you were with Mika's question.
What question was fine?
It was a good
like
question.
half as long as most of yours.
I don't even think it was a question. But thank you, Lindsey, for being with us.
Really?
Michael Beschlaw.